Okay, good morning and happy Sabbath. It's a blessing to be here with you once again. And today I'm going to be sharing a mission report of my trip in Zambia. So it's been about a week and a half back here in the States. But I've titled, it says the sermon title is Out of Your Comfort Zone. And as I share this mission report, you'll understand why I chose that title. But and I want to leave you with some thoughts related to this idea of getting out of your comfort zone. So as you see the pictures, as you hear some of the experiences, be thinking about this idea of stepping out of your comfort zone. So I left on September and I made it back October 12th. I had a wonderful experience, but I want to start with a quotation that we find in the book Acts of the Apostles, page 28, and it says, "The Gospel Commission is the great missionary charter of Christ's kingdom. The disciples were to work earnestly for souls, giving to all the invitation of mercy. They were not to wait for the people to come to them. They were to go to the people with their message." And in one sense, all of us are called to go. Not all of us are called to go to Zambia, but all of us are called to go somewhere. And whenever you have to go, or a lot of times, not whenever, but a lot of times when you have to go, it requires stepping out of your comfort zone. Because staying usually it's the more comfortable thing to do. I don't want to get up and go. But this is part of what the Gospel Commission challenges us to do. It challenges us to go to them, look for them, bring the invitation of mercy to them. So here's a map of Africa. There in the red, you can see where the country of Zambia is. And we were in the southern province. Doesn't look good on this projector there, but where you see closer to Zimbabwe on the southern part, that's where we were, in a rural village called Gwembe. Now, those of you who know Godfrey grew up in this rural village. And Gwembe is a very small town in the southern province of Zambia. Its population is just about 2,000 people. And the people there, they're very peaceful, very warm and welcoming. And the people in this area primarily speak Tonga. That's the language that most of them speak a couple different languages. Not many of the people there spoke English, so you usually had to have a translator, or you just communicate with hands, sign language, smiles, and all that other good stuff. As we'll talk about maybe in the communication seminar, a lot of communication is through your body language. So, but great, beautiful people there. And I just had an amazing time. Whenever you go out and you go to a totally different place, it does have an impact on our minds. And I'll be sharing a little bit more of that impact. Now, last year I was in Zambia, and we did an evangelistic meetings with Godfrey, Mwaba, and Thomas. But last time we did the meetings in the capital city of Lusaka. So it was in the city, and it wasn't quite as stepping out of your comfort zone as this experience was. But last year I did get to visit. We spent one day here in Gwembe, one day and one night. And this is a picture from last year, but those bricks, the walls that you see there, this is from this church, which when we arrived, so 1 year later, the church is finally finished, and Godfrey had been raising money to build this church, and so the meetings, the evangelistic meetings, and all the work that we did here was to strengthen this new church plant. So this is a new church plant, they called the church Shuko. And so now, since we got there, this was actually like our base of operation. And we had brought some tents for sleeping, but I think it was like the second or third night, these strong winds were blowing at night, destroyed the tents, bent them up, and so in the end, almost everybody just slept inside the church. So the church is where we slept, and it was kind of like our base where we would have our meetings, where we would pray together. And it was we had a nice sized group. It was around 25 of us. So it was myself and Godfrey that came from here, but then we had singing evangelists. People over there like singing a lot, so we had many. We had almost like, it was like 12, 13 people that were just singing, but they would help us in other areas as well. We had a team of 8 medical missionaries, and there was 2 people from this village that we hired to work as Bible workers. They're Adventists, and so with the money we were able to raise, we started them. They started 3 months before we got there, and they will be working until the end of December. They're following up on all the interests. So it was a nice-sized team, and then there was people from the village that would help us with various things, like, as I'll show you later in the pictures, getting water for bathing and water for cooking and things like that. It had to be brought from a well at a distance, and so some of the local people there in the village helped with that and also with cooking. But our trip, our efforts included the following activities. So we had home visitations and medical missionary work, which would be done in the mornings. After breakfast until lunchtime, we had Bible studies in the afternoon where we would review some of the topics that we spoke about the previous night, where it was more teaching, it was more interactive, and people could ask questions. That was an interesting experience. And we had children's program. We had the evangelistic meetings. We'd give health presentations, and the singing evangelists would do concerts. And then we had a food distribution. A number of the people, there's been a drought this year, and so a number of the people, I mean, you could tell they weren't getting nourished very well, and so we were able to, with the money we raised, we were able to buy cornmeal and distribute for the people there in this village. But let me go into a little bit more the home visitations and the medical missionary work. Okay, so this is just a little video. So you can see this is what the area looked like. It was very dry, sand. Most of the trees didn't have any green in them. The ones that are green are more like cactus-looking type plants. But you can see the houses. People make their own bricks there. They make their own bricks, and then the roofs are like of straw and other plant material. Okay, so we would in the mornings we would split up the teams. So a number of the singing evangelists would go. We would go with the Bible workers, and we would visit different homes, people that have been coming to the meetings. And myself and Godfrey, we specifically targeted some of the homes where one of the members wanted to get baptized, but then maybe they still had some questions, or the husband wants to get baptized. Like here in this case, the husband wanted to get baptized. The wife wasn't quite ready. She had her questions. And so it just gave us an opportunity to dialogue with the people and just get to know them in a more personal way. None of them spoke English, so... And as you can see, this is kind of like where this is like the kitchen and where they eat, and it just has like a little sidewall and a roof, which was necessary because that sun was hot. That sun was hot. One day for the baptism, we had to walk an hour distance to this dam where we could, have the baptisms. And that day, I forgot my hat. And so after about an hour, I was walking around like this the rest of the time because my head was burning. Now, it was, I tried carrying water on my head the previous day, so my skin was still tender, and then that combination of the tender skin in the sun, yeah, it burned. This is the group of the medical missionaries in action. As I mentioned, we had 8 amazing young people. Some of them are studying medicine or nursing in the university in Lusaka, and that's one of the things. Pretty much the majority of our team was from the capital city, Lusaka. So even for them, like coming to this rural village, it was a stepping out of their comfort zone experience for them. Here's another video.
There's our health team doing the health checkups. Hello, hello. Right, medical missionaries in action.
You can hear the wind. Yeah, that wind. This tent that they were under, it got destroyed by the wind. So, this is Hobby. He was the one who led the medical missionary team. Tremendous leader, and he's just been, travels all over Africa. He's worked in the Congo and Ethiopia, and just many different places. Really skilled in doing medical missionary work and just using whatever he has around in the area to do treatments. And I was thankful because they needed to do treatments on me because, like, after the first week, I don't know what it was, but something wasn't hitting me right, and I just had, for like a whole week, I had diarrhea, and to the point where I was getting like dehydrated. I felt very weak, and even I brought charcoal. The charcoal wasn't working, and finally he was like, okay, they made me some rice water, and I was just drinking that rice water, and that was salvation for me. So very thankful for having this team. But they would do health assessments. They would have like little stations, and then they would teach the people how to do hydrotherapy and use some different natural remedies for different things. But most of the stuff that they saw was just malnutrition. A lot of the things that they were dealing with was from just not getting enough nutrients, balanced nutrition in their diet. But they ended up seeing around 360 people. In those 2 weeks that we were there, they saw about 360 people. And there was a number of people that couldn't come and that we would go to their homes. And some of the people would come walking, from 2-3 hours away just to, benefit from the health assessment. It was interesting on Sunday. One of the Sundays we actually just went to. There was 2 other local churches there in the area, the Salvation Army and the Catholic Church, and they welcomed us in. So we visited both, and we got to, let them know about the meetings and invite them to the meetings. So that was an interesting experience. So that's at the Salvation Army Church. And, okay, this is them welcoming us. So it was an experience. And I forgot to put a video. It was interesting, the Catholic Church there, because I in any of the different countries that I've been to, you go to a Catholic church and they're very similar. They're very highly decorated and things. But the Catholic Church looked just like this. It was just bricks and a roof. The only extra decoration they had was a crucifix that they would bring, that they brought in and walked in once they started the worship service. So eating was an interesting experience because most of the time they eat with their hands. They eat a lot of shima, and I asked for a fork, but they were like, I saw that they really wanted me to eat with my fingers, so I did.
How you eat it with your hands?
It's just cornmeal.
They mix it up and mash it with their fingers.
Now,
That's all I'm doing.
Now it's not just that they eat with their hands, but they have with the shima, they move it around. Here you'll see it in the other video. Godfrey will demonstrate here. It just tastes like corn grits. Yeah, but they'll take it and they'll, kind of massage it a bit before eating it and mixing it with the other things. There's some other. We ate a lot of watermelon because again it was hot. One day they made chapati and this was for Sabbath. They cooked in this thing because they were going to have so many people.
Tomorrow, Sabbath, there's so many people. They're cooking corn everywhere here. Got it in buckets.
So that's their main staple, is like this corn grits.
100 people.
If they don't have that, they don't feel like they ate food, so. All right, so after lunch, we would have the group Bible study. This is my interpreter. He did most of the interpretation for me. His name is Keys. And one of the things that really enriched me, so most of the local people, because they didn't speak English, I didn't have that much interaction with them. But with the people that came that were part of the team, like my interpreter, I was just really encouraged just listening to his experience. Some of these people have just gone through really hard things in life. They really know what stepping out of your comfort zone is. Keys, he was just telling me, he grew up in a village, and his father had passed away early on, and at 15 years old, he left home, and he became a man. I mean, he left to the capital city of Lusaka and just started, found a job, learned how to work, started doing construction, but he came to the point where he ended up becoming so good at it that he started his own construction company. Then he bought a car, and right now he still does construction from start all the way to finish. He drives kind of like a Uber, and he was the one that was in charge of all the sound equipment. There's no electricity there, but we brought a generator, and the PA system that we used was actually his. We were renting it, and he also, as an add-on, he helped as my interpreter, and he did an excellent job. He was actually, it was a little bit different for me because over there, as you may have seen in the previous video at the Salvation Army, like they're used to the preaching over there, they like you to yell at them, like that makes them feel like you're preaching. And so, especially when it came to the appeals, I was like, I'm just like, it's just not in my personality. So I would tell my interpreter, I was like, all right, start making the appeal. And he would go on and go on for like 10 minutes, but it worked. I was like, hey, we make a good team here, because I couldn't do that the way he did it. We had children's program. This year in August, I went to ASI, and I was volunteering in the junior division, and they had a lot of art material that they were using for the program, and there was a lot of things left over. I told them, hey, what are you guys going to do with that? I'm going on a mission trip to Zambia, so they donated a whole bunch of things, and we could take it, and we did a wonderful program there for the children. I mean, there was a lot of kids, and they were just very well behaved, and they enjoyed it very much.
All right, here we have the older kids.
How are you?
This is the one and only Apostle John.
I want him to come to Heartland. He's such a good young man.
This side.
Yes. So here are the children. Nice.
This one.
Good job. Very good. Good job. All right. She's tracing. Oh, that's a colorful coat. That's like Joseph's coat. Oh, very nice. Oh, look at this. Very good. Yeah. Wow. Nice. Very good. Let me see your pictures. Whoa. We have a... Yes. Good job. Good job. Yeah. All right. There we go. Yeah. Good. Good.
So it was a blessing. They really enjoyed all the coloring and painting.
Nice. Look at that. Very, very nice. Good.
All right, the evangelistic meeting. So we started off around like 300 people would come at night, and we peaked at around 600, a little bit over 600 people coming to the evenings. Once we mentioned the Sabbath, it started dropping back off again. But it was a big crowd there, and basically we were alternating. One night Godfrey would preach, the other night I would preach, and we did that. And this big tree here, here's another picture where you can see it. This was this huge tree. As you can see, it's very green, and it stood out because everything else is dry and dead, but the roots of that tree must be very deep. But this is where we would have on Sabbath. Here's where we would gather, and of course it provided shade for a good number of people. And it was funny because as the morning progressed, you'd see people shifting and move with the shade as the shade moved from one side to the other. So here's some. And as you can see, it's all sand. I was cleaning my shoes every day. After a while, I was just like, I'm not going to clean my shoes anymore because they just don't stay clean very long at all. Here's a picture of all the everyone in the singing team. And so one group was Shining Stars. This is a they're all very gifted with doing different voices when they sing. And then the other group is called Wailing Voices, and it's two brothers who are blind, and so a lot of their music they would sing of like the suffering of this world, but the hope of the world to come when Jesus would come. But here's a little. So the two on the guitar, they're the two brothers. But I was so inspired, by their story because, you see these two men, they were born blind, but they do so much. They do so much. There are people that they don't let their disability become like a crutch. They're not like, oh, poor me, and, why did this happen to me? They've made the best. So the older one, he's not just has the singing ministry, but he's an evangelist as well. So this is his wife there. His wife is a tremendous woman. She built the house that they live in. She built it brick, making the bricks herself and then building the house. And people would watch her and they would help her because they were just so inspired by what she was doing. So she also takes care of his brother, lives with them, and the other young man that was next to them is their son, and he does all the video and audio editing for the music ministry. Just a tremendous, very inspiring family. So this is the dam. This is where we went for the baptisms. I don't know why they do this, but in their method of baptism, I don't know if you could tell in the video, but the people hold their hands here and no one holds their nose. So when they go into that water, I don't know how much water they're swallowing there, but I thought that was kind of weird. I was like, why do they do that? But must be the custom. So in total, we had 18 baptisms. This is the group that got baptized, and there was almost a group, maybe about of 20, that responded to appeals, and they're going to be studying to get baptized. This other group here. Yes, that's Godfrey. Yeah, that was Godfrey preaching there. And that was the appeal. You can't see it there, but they built the stage where we were preaching from, the platform. They built that whole thing. It got hammered pretty bad by the wind, as it looks like it's falling apart because the wind just kept beating on it. And then we did the food distribution. So we were able to buy 280 sacks of corn and distribute it to the families there.
What's going on here? Explain to us.
Thank you so much. We're coming to Shuka SDA Church, where we're dealing with feeding the community. Because life depends on what is put in their stomach, that they can forget, to help with others, and share Christ. So right now we're trying to present Isaiah 58, where we deal with life and help them to know Christ by feeding them. Because there's hunger here, there's no way you're going to tell somebody about Christ when there's not eaten. So let's share through food ministry and evangelism in the sports. The need right now in this community is food. Then the Lord will do the rest. Thank you so much. It's time to join us. Share support for this weekend.
Amen. Amen. How much bags do we have here? Like
Close to about 300 bags right now.
almost
right?
300
What is
bags.
the community? That's what they are. So right now in this community, it's a valley land. So in the valley, it can produce right now. So this is their major food. Zambians feed on maize, shima. So they can eat the right food, then they can be free. So we are attending to many people who are sick. Why? Because of deficient in the body. So we thought of first feeding them, and we can tell them more about Christ. That comes first with us.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
So that was when we were unloading the corn, and this is when the people gathered to distribute the corn. So that was the headman of the village, and he was just sharing with the people how they were going to do this. As you can see, they were, giving it depending on the size of the family, and so, when you step out of your comfort zone, it allows you to experience new things. Now, maybe some of you like to experience new things, but majority of us, you have a little bit of a aversion to new experiences, especially if it's not going to be it's not like a upgrade, like a better, more comfortable experience. It's like going below your level of comfort. But I think it was the longest that I've gone with, living without, being in a place without running water, electricity, and the environment just made me feel like I was in Bible times, because it's desert-like, and you would have cattle walking through, so it felt like living close to the time of Jesus and the apostles. But these experiences, one thing that I felt was sometimes when we have more, like a lot of the modern conveniences that we have nowadays, they're intended to free us up, but somehow we find ourselves becoming more busy. Like, we have these conveniences, but actually there's so many other things that make life very busy, just packed, and being over there away from, no phone, no cell phone, no phone calls, no text messages, no emails to respond to. For me, it was like, wow, this is freedom. It felt really, really good. That's what most people have is goats. And it was interesting because they were roaming around without a shepherd. They just roamed around, lots of goats everywhere, moving around, trying to find food or water. And they know where their home is, so at night, all the goats go where they belong. Yeah, they were diving off the cliff there.
So this is how you iron clothes when you don't have an electric iron.
That was interesting.
That is really cool. I like that. Yeah, very creative. Nice. See the hot coals.
Huh? Coals. So hot coals. I didn't try it. I didn't worry about ironing any of my shirts. But I saw them, I was like, wow, that is interesting. Okay, this is when we went to carry water. Like I said, my head was hurting for like 5 days. I was like, the other days I just carried it on my shoulder because I was like, no, this is intense. But it's amazing, and over there, like, the ladies are the ones who carry all the water. So they, in the early morning, they would go and bring water, but they're so skilled at it. Watch this little video clip. Carrying water. Woman has the balance to carry it even with no hand. And it was just like nothing, and the terrain wasn't like super flat. It was like, and well, it was my first experience, but it wore me out. I couldn't do it all the way on my head. It is, yeah. But again, stepping out of your comfort zone allows you to experience new things. It allows you to, experience things that you may not readily be open to, but that they can help us grow, or they can just help us give us a different perspective. Being over there, having to carry water every day so that you have water to bathe and for cooking, it really made me, your mind goes like into conservation mode, and you're like, oh man, I learned to bathe with just a certain amount, because I was like, I think the first day I was like, I filled my tub as much water as possible, and I'm just like, whoosh, whoosh. Afterwards it's like, no, I could do it with half of that, because that's hard work to bring that water. So it just gives you it allows you to have a different perspective on things. And one of the experiences, I brought my journal along, and I was journaling ever so often, every few days. And one of the things that came to my mind while I was there was this passage. This morning in the Grace Nugget, Kevin spoke about the Apostle Paul. And when he wrote to the Philippians, he said, "But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Christ. Yeah, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Christ Jesus my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, garbage, refuse, that I may win Christ, and be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Christ, the righteousness which is of God by faith, that I might know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings, being made conformable unto his death." And while I was there, I was just thinking, one of the things, especially with the heat, it was so hot there after the third day. I remember writing in my journal, I was like, it is so hot. I'm constantly sweating. And since, showers aren't just readily available, some days I did take 2 showers because I was like, I can't fall asleep like this, all sticky. But again, that shortage of water, sometimes made you consider whether, or sometimes, they would bring water in the morning, and sometimes they would finish, and it was just like, if you wanted to go shower, you got to go fetch yourself some more water, and it was like a 10, 12-minute walk to carry the water. But the Apostle Paul speaks of counting things loss for Christ. And while I was there, I thought, man, what if God called me to come and live here? Because one of the things that brought peace and ease to my mind is like, you just got to endure, it's just 2 weeks, not a problem. You can do it for 2 weeks. And it's true, that did kind of help my mind get through it. But I thought, what if God was calling me to live here? Would I be willing to give up, my comfort, what I do here, my job, and, everything that you have here to go there to minister? And I really, I gave it some thought. Not that I felt that God was calling me to do that, but I just thought of it, because the Apostle Paul, he was willing to give up everything and anything. He was willing to count everything loss for Christ's sake. What are you willing to give up? What would you be willing to give up for Christ's sake? As we discussed in the Sabbath school here, Brother Goings mentioned, God doesn't call, everybody's experience is different. God isn't calling everyone like Abraham to leave their family and go to a place where they don't know. But we all have something to give up. And we all have things in our life, and they may even be good things. Some of the things that Paul mentions here in Philippians that he was willing to give up weren't bad in them itself, but in his experience, it was necessary. It was part of what stood in his way, and he was ready. He was willing to give it up because he wanted to know more of Christ. And sometimes, less equals more. And I really believe that as Christians, we need to be ready to step out of our comfort zone. We need to be ready to maybe do something, try a new experience that it doesn't go with you. You don't like it. You're not into that thing. But for the sake of experiencing, it's good for our minds. It's good for your growth to do things that maybe you don't like, maybe that require some form of sacrifice. It does something for us. The Apostle Paul was willing to give up everything for Christ. And I want to leave you with this last thought here from the Desire of Ages, page 250. There is no limit to the usefulness of one who, putting self aside, makes room for the working of the Holy Spirit upon his heart and lives a life wholly consecrated to God. No limit. A lot of times, all those things that we hang on to, you know what they're doing to your life? They're limiting your life. They're limiting your potential. But when we set self aside, when we sometimes make those sacrifices, when we give up those things, when we step out of our comfort zone, it puts us in a place where now you can see God working in your life in a mighty way. It's part of that experience of being wholly consecrated. Wholly consecrated, it's just another way of saying a complete and full surrender of our lives. Continuing the quote, if men will endure the necessary discipline without complaining or fainting by the way, God will teach them hour by hour and day by day. You see, this whole consecration, this full dedication to God, this willingness to give up anything and everything to gain Christ puts us in a place where we can learn by God. He longs to reveal his grace. If his people will remove the obstructions, he will pour forth the waters of salvation in abundant streams through the human channels. And this is my appeal for you. Start small. Think of something today. Ask the Lord, what can I give up today? How can I live this less equals more? What can I put aside? What can I give up that will bring more freedom into my life and allow me to experience more of your grace, more of your power, more of your presence? Is there anything, even a good thing, but that you can give up so that you can experience more of God in your life? If this is your desire, I want to invite you to stand with me as we sing our closing hymn. 570, Not I, but Christ.